So we can also have local stress rotations with depletion. And you know, all of the calculations we've done in this class with respect to wellbore stability and wellbore and fault stability have been associated with knowing the state of stress, right? And so in this case, it's valuable to estimate what kind of rotation might occur associated with a stress rotation that occurs around a fault. So if we have an original scenario where this is some fault and these, or this is the direction of SH max before it's brought into production, then over time what you can get is very local to the fault. You can get these sorts of reorientations. And we'll kind of talk about the mechanisms and estimate what the reorientation would be. But of course, if you were going to later drill more wells in regions near the fault, then it would be important to understand what these rotations are so that you could do your wellbore stability analysis and other things. So I think this is where we're going to miss a lot of the equations, at least in the lecture, in the recorded lecture. So I mean, that's the final answer there. But if you have a scenario where we'll define our local sort of coordinate system with respect to SH max, and then we have a fault that can be defined by theta, which is theta, where theta is measured as a acute angle from SH max. Well, SH max is going to, according to our estimation of how the stress changes, it's going to change according to what Zoback calls A, this stress path, times the change in pore pressure. Likewise, any shear stresses, because remember the shear stresses are proportional to the normal stress, right? You have this type of equation, right, for a fault. So any shear stresses on the fault are also going to be modified by A delta P. So the shear stresses will also be modified by A delta pore pressure. Okay. So if we now write our stress in terms of coordinate system like this, then the stress in the x direction is going to be, I'm sorry, this is x, this is y. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't see, huh? I'll try to write big. So the stress in the will be SH max minus A delta pore pressure minus. So this is how the stress SH max is going to change with depletion. Okay. Minus the component of shear stress in the x direction. Likewise for SH min. I think I said shear stress, I meant normal. Component of normal stress. Okay. And then, so from that, you can have that gamma, where gamma is the angle of stress reorientation. So it's the gamma is defined as the angle of stress reorientation. So then if you plug in these values into this guy, I'm not going to ask you to derive this or anything. Just and this is what you get in the end, where, again, A is this stress path, and Q is defined like this. And so then you can get an estimation of the stress reorientation near the fault. Now that decays pretty rapidly as you move away from the fault. Was defined there. Yeah. I mean, so it's just a term that shows up in both the numerator and denominator. And if you write it like that, then it's just Q, right? And you don't have these fractions and fractions. It just makes the equation more compact. It just comes from, if you plug these in to that and you start simplifying, you see it appear there, and so you can just write the equation more compactly. There's nothing particularly special about it or anything, but it is the ratio of, the change in pore pressure modulated by the difference, principal stress difference, right? So if it just
there you have A is change in estimation or change in pore pressure, and then on the board A is that, and that equals SH max.
No, not equals.
SH max.
It's SH max, as SH max changes as a function of this, according to, that's not equals, it just means it changes proportional to this. Yeah. So I think I'm going to stop there. I'm just not feeling it without my pen. And I spent like 30 minutes before class. Instead of preparing for class, I was trying to mess with my pen. So I'll see you guys Tuesday. No class Thursday. We'll probably have an assignment, maybe the last assignment next Tuesday. There's only 2 more weeks of class, right? Yes. And then no more labs. Did y'all hear that?
Decide to cancel lab 5.
No more labs. These equations are all in the book, too.
Mine's on the canvas. My assignment 4 has been graded. My assignment Is that just because they haven't been rated, or is mine lost, or
There was one without a name on it.
that could be me?
Okay.
Do you want me to go through all this and look?
Well, it's in the stack that's down in the basement of all the assignment 3s.
Can I look through it? Or
Yeah, if you can find it without the one without the name on it.
where's the stack?
Oh, I mean, it was somebody moved it on the day of. I had set them outside my door on the day before the exam because I wanted people to be able to get them, and then somebody moved it to the basement somewhere where there's
The boxes?
yeah, somebody moved it down there. I was hopeful that somebody would come by and claim and pick that up and claim it was theirs. I know what the grade is on it.
Is that a good grade?
I think the grade was fine.
I'll go look.
I have a question on the grading on homework 4. Who do I ask?
You think you did? It was something's wrong, or is like some?
Well, the way that I did it, instead of showing the breakout degrees on all points on my graph, I just set it to a lower value if it was below 30. So my graph looks different because.
Okay.
it's
Well,
all-
bring it by and I'll
Okay.
yeah, bring it by and I'll.
Oh, I wanted to start preparing for the final, and I was curious if we were going to go over like things that we need to concentrate on, if it was like completely cumulative, or when we would.
Well,
like,
I mean,
start
it's
focusing.
yeah. I mean, it's going to be cumulative, but as far as including what we're going to learn over the next 2 weeks, the old stuff, beyond what the last test in the history, will basically be from those tests. So in other words, if I didn't test you on it before, I'm not going to go dig up something obscure to ask you a question now from the first day of class or something like that. So I think a good way to study would be to, study the previous 2 exams.
So that means we can still skip Visco and Thermal.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's the point. I'm not going to go ask something obscure. So,
Okay.
study the types of questions in the scope of the last 2 exams, and then,
This
and
new
then the new
stuff.
stuff.